Andrea James, FreeHer podcast, all things ending incarceration of women and girls. Really happy to be here today with Ysenia Bonilla, who is from one of our favorite collabs, two of our favorite comrades, who introduced to us this incredible concept that has actually been around for a really long time. Sub-Saharan African countries have been doing this for a long time. Other cultures have been doing this for a long time. But the Fund for Guaranteed Income, F4GI, and we were introduced to this incredible body of work by Nika Soonshong, who is our dear comrade and friend, and Nick. Nika sent me a book called Give a Man a Fish. And that book, it's barely hanging on by the binder because we literally tore that book apart. The concept of basic guaranteed income, we knew in the hyperlocal organizing model that we built, that we call reimagining communities, that was going to be a game changer for us, having been introduced to it. And then we were invited out to Compton by Nika, the Compton Pledge, the mayor of Compton. There were 100 mayors, I think, around the country. Our mayor in Boston at the time, Marty Walsh, was not one of the mayors, but 100 mayors, mostly black and brown mayors around the country, came together to say, we're going to try this. We're going to do this. And Nika invited us to come in and learn more about what these mayors were doing. And we did, but we came away feeling like, you know what? Yes. Anytime you can get systems to create such a massive shift, like a basic guaranteed income, that's great. But we felt at the National Council, as formerly incarcerated women, that we were going to raise those dollars and that we were going to provide this specifically for currently incarcerated women, because there's lots of reasons why women inside still need to receive an income. And also, of course, the majority of what our basic guarantee goes to women who come home in their first year. So we're really happy to have you here representing your organization. Tell us, what do you do there? And give us a little bit more about the importance. What is basic guarantee income?
Hello, my name is Ysenia, and I'm the communications associate for Fund for Guaranteed Income, the nonprofit that I work for. And so many questions, but the first question I'd like to answer is, what is basic guaranteed income? What is guaranteed income? Guaranteed income is reoccurring cash payments with no strings attached. This means that there's no paperwork you need to file through, no work documents that you need to submit. The money is handed to you and you can do whatever you like with the money. And this concept, like you said, is not something that's new to the market. This has been talked about for decades, all the way back when Martin Luther King was marching in the streets. He was talking about basic guaranteed income. So what we do at Fund for Guaranteed Income is we help distribute these guaranteed income payments to various programs across the nation, one being the Community Love Fund, which was started in January 2023 with 25 girls. No, I believe it was 21 girls in 2022. My apologies. February 2022 with 21 girls, and we have expanded in 2023 to 25 women and doubled the amount of individuals who are currently incarcerated who we provide funds for.
So we work very hard to provide these women with basic income, and it has grown from our first. We started out, I think we only had enough funds for 5 women, and then in this entire collective of people from People Not Prisons, which is our volunteer base, one of them said, I'm getting a tax return back. I don't really need it. Let me make this contribution. And we decided we were going to call our basic income guarantee project, the Community Love Fund. And we were really proud of that. We were proud that we were brought in to look at what 100 mayors were doing, but that we as formerly incarcerated women said, you know what, we're gonna take this on ourselves. We're gonna, if it's one woman, if it's two women, if it's three women, we're going to provide basic income guarantee, basic guarantee income. People say BIGS, people say it different, BGI. And we thought that it would send a very strong message and help us to shift the narrative about who we are and what are some of the changes that need to be made. So many women are in prison for poverty-related issues. Some women have made choices based on no choice at all. And it's, people don't understand housing is the number one issue that land women on a prison bunk, not all the other things that people think about us as incarcerated women. So basic guaranteed income was just something that resonated with us, and it empowered us because we felt that, we can do this. If we start with 3 women and provide, I think the first round, we could only do $200 a month, but our volunteers at People Not Prisons raised that in the first year to $500 a month. And I think Nika and Nick were really thinking about how do we help organizations like the National Council and their Community Love Fund, after they raise all this money, how do we help them? What infrastructure do we need to build so that money can more easily be processed? And if there are issues, if a sister uses, we're fancy. We even have debit cards.
Yes.
Sisters don't have to ask for their money. They're guaranteed that money. Then we're now up to $500 a month. And again, we have 25 women, I think, that receive that. And some of them, like Michelle West, are lifers. And they will receive their basic guaranteed income until we bring them home. And then even after we bring our incarcerated sisters home, we provide that income for the first year that they're home. We're really proud of that.
Yes, it is incredible. It is an incredible opportunity that we are so glad to be a part of. What we want to try to do is to disrupt the complex barriers that are put in place by this for-profit prison industrial complex. And there are so many barriers in place that are stopping individuals and especially mothers from being able to receive from behind bars, be able to receive money, be able to receive phone calls, be able to receive the snacks that they want. And in LA County Prison, it costs $5 for a 2-for-$1 bag of chips. And the reason for that inflation, there is no reason. There is no regulatory or fiscal reason for the high costs and the low wage of these individuals behind bars. And what we want to do is make it as easy as possible for the families to be able to support their family members inside and to stop the barriers, which could be $10 for every $300 that are sent, which is why it was such a low cost in the beginning sent to these women, as well as the piles and piles of paperwork you need to go through to be able to even sign up to be able to have phone calls and send money. We want to make it as easy as possible to be able to support these family members in a system that makes it nearly impossible.
Yeah, and we all know about the cost and the price gouging at prison commissaries, but also what a lot of people don't think about is the separation of mothers from their children. And a lot of times, I lived in a women's prison, and the phone calls cost a lot of money. And I was fortunate. I only had to call one household. Many of our sisters inside who have more than one child has to figure out, we made 12 cents an hour inside of the prison that I was in. And we got paid once a month. So you're talking about maybe a $6 to $8 deposit into your commissary account. If you don't have other resources coming in to support you during your incarceration, that's what you're living off of. And you imagine a woman who's inside, who's now living off of $6 a month, and she has 3 children, and quite often, because the system disrupts families, her children are in 3 different households, or one may even be in the family policing system. One might be with an auntie, one might be with grandma. Whatever that is, she has to contemplate, I also need deodorant, I also need appropriate feminine hygiene products. I also need to eat something. How do I go about with this $6 figuring out how to pass that out in a way that also provides me with the money I need to put on my phone book so that I can make a phone call out? Because unless you pay for those calls, you're not going to make a call. And so what we were so interested in providing, not only for women who were coming out, just to give them, that first year is tough. That first year of coming home, of re-entering, is so tough. And a lot of times it's the difference between a woman landing back on a bunk within that first year or two is just, does she have access to cash? And people say, well, you're just going to give these women cash? Yes. What does a woman need with money every month who's inside? Well, there's lots of things. They have children. Their children have needs. They want to provide for their children. It provides dignity for the women who are inside. And also, it helps women who are outside. A little extra money goes a long way. And so we're really grateful that we were introduced to this. What are some of the places now that are doing this that are not necessarily, we know, let me lift up Rich Wallace at EAT in Chicago. That organization and that brother has really just lifted BGI to a different level.
Most definitely.
But where else are we seeing this concept really taking hold?
Well, we have the Chicago Future Fund, which you just mentioned, is headed by Richard Wallace, which is an incredible program. We're just finishing up our second round of that program, which is huge. And we're also concluding our second round of our Long Beach program, which is partnered with the city. And there's so many. We have Philadelphia. We just started one in Louisiana, which is incredible. It's a partnership with the ACLU program, which gives consistent cash to individuals who have suffered from police brutality. We won't call them victims, but those individuals will be receiving payments. And I've actually gotten to speak with some of them. They're putting money down towards a house. They've put their stories behind them. It's very empowering for these people to not have to spend the money on just food or just childcare. They actually get to
talk about that for a minute, because people think, you're formerly incarcerated, you're going to go and buy blah. And we don't monitor that. We don't govern what it is. Cash in your hand.
Cash in your hand.
Count on for the designated period of time that you are going to receive that.
Yes.
And what we find is that the sisters spend their money on things that anybody who's in need will spend their money on. Rent, buying a car for the first time since coming home, getting some wheels underneath them. But many women are separated from their children. And in order for a probate family court to give custody back to a formerly incarcerated woman, she has to have appropriate housing for those children. So if you got a boy and a girl, you got to have a 2-bedroom apartment. Many places across this country, that is cost prohibitive for many people. So you're actually talking about, with basic guaranteed income, providing additional cash, which we see that the women are saying, this is what I'm spending my money on. I finally had an opportunity to bring my children under the same roof. I finally had enough money to save the deposit, the security deposit, the first month in order to get that apartment. I finally have enough money to pay the light bill, where every single month my lights aren't being turned on. And so these are the really important things that people just don't understand are the critical needs, basic human needs.
And even beyond that as well, that's the great thing about guaranteed income. You could spend it on, like you said, necessities for housing, or also just buying your child a birthday cake.
Yes.
Giving them Christmas presents, things that every mother should have the ability to do for their children. Or be able to see a family member who's passed away. There was a woman from our Compton Pledge program, which served over 800 residents of Compton and distributed over $2 million in funds. One of these participants that I got to speak with, oh my God, her story, it just hits me so hard. She was having heart problems and her medication was well over $300 a month. And that money she used for that, and it legitimately, from her words, from her mouth, kept her alive. She wouldn't have been able to afford that. She wouldn't have been able to afford to see her father before he passed. Things like that that really matter to a person, to a human person, that government officials wouldn't think to designate money for because it's not in your quantitative basic needs.
What's some of the pushback? What's some of the pushback that you guys who are managing all of these different projects and helping us to actually do the project with all of the infrastructure and back office support that you provide us? What's some of the pushback that you guys are hearing about from whether it's state or city officials that don't agree with other state or city officials doing the project, or just in general? What are some of the things?
I'd say there's two main pushbacks. The one being the question that anyone is going to ask. Why do they deserve this money? What are they going to do for it? Why? Why these people? Why do they deserve it? Why do they deserve it more than other people? Which, for a valid reason, the goal would be UBI, which is universal basic income. But for right now, we can only do designated programs through guaranteed income. And another one being, what else are you going to require from them? Should we provide financial literacy? Should we do other things like that? Which in programs we do offer financial literacy and other things, but they're not a requirement. And our philosophy is that individuals who are in need know the best way to serve their need. Individuals know what matters to them most and what will have the best impact, more than any city official would. And that's usually the narrative that we like to go with when we're speaking with them, because a lot of the time our basic needs just aren't enough. And a lot of the time we can't even cover that. But other people may see areas where they think there might need to be more investment in, like you say, your food or school clothes or things like that. There's many of programs that service that way, but the other things that really matter, like I said, birthdays, memorials, transportation, just being able to have, buying a pizza and being able to have a day off and not work double shifts like my mother did her entire life until today, and being able to have time to spend with your children so they can build that relationship. Because a lot of what I've noticed growing up also with a working mother who was in the incarceral system, and I've experienced so many families torn apart from the simple fact of just not having enough and having to work, and not being able to have the luxury of time. And what money gives you is also time.
Yeah.
You can pay to have your laundry done so you're not spending the entire weekend doing that. You can spend it with your kids.
That's right. Nothing more precious than time. Well, we love it because of all of the reasons that you've stated, and that we always say police and prisons don't create healthy, thriving communities. Healthy, thriving people do. And basic guaranteed income is one of those tools, an additional tool in our toolbox under our work of reimagining communities, which the Community Love Fund sits in, that gives support to create health and for people to thrive and to have some human dignity.
Yes,
that they can meet their needs and that they don't have to ask.
They don't have to beg. They don't have to ask. They don't have to worry about filing paperwork every week. It is just support.
Yeah.
And we like to say it's not cash that is going to dramatically change your life, but it's because you're alive and it costs to survive. You would think that's a no-brainer.
Because you're alive. Because you're alive. Well, I want to say thank you and for coming. You're here in Washington, D.C. for the 10th anniversary march and rally on Washington, D.C.
Thank you so much for having us. We are so honored to be here to support Andrea. You are an absolute legend. We are so happy to support you and to have done so much work with you with Community Love Fund. Anything you need, we're here for you at F4GI.
Yay. Well, we're going to stick around and keep coming and getting the support from you as well. Please send our love to Nick and Nika And it's been a pleasure speaking with you today.
It's been a pleasure speaking with you as well.
Thank you.